28 of 32 NFL teams have reported to training camp as of today. Hope you enjoyed summer. You still have another month of it, but football is here as well. We welcome you back to this Tuesday on the early line. 4 more teams still need to show up to camp tomorrow. That's the Atlanta Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But 28 of 32 in camp, including a team DRS that showed up to camp in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Sunday afternoon. That was the Packers. Their quarterback, Jordan Love, was there as well, but still in an ongoing contract negotiation with the Packers brass, and no deal has been reached at this moment. Jordan Love will not practice until a contract extension is signed. This was shared from his representation of Packers GM Brian Gutekunst. All being said, it seems to be an amicable relationship between the Packers front office and Jordan Love and his agents. Gutekunst sharing with local reporters yesterday they hope to have a deal done in the coming days. The question really, Donnie, is this. What does the deal look like? How many millions of dollars will it be for Jordan Love? And is Jordan Love about to become the highest paid quarterback and player in National Football League history?
He should, because right now he has them over a barrel. He really does. I mean, you have a young quarterback that you expect to be your franchise guy for at least the next decade with a football team that's expected to do some damage and make a deep run in the playoffs. Now, having said that, I like what's going on here. There's no like animosity between the two sides. And I always appreciate when it's like, you know what? Like, I love my guys. Like, I love the game of football. I got to be around my guys. I'm not going to practice on the field because I don't want to get injured, but I want to be in those team meetings. I want to be around the guys. I want to be in that huddle. So when they break and somebody has a question or the backup quarterback or the wide receiver, they can come directly to me and show them that still leader. I'm not going to be working out somewhere in Arizona away trying to get this deal done. And also from a Packers perspective, understanding they have to pay this guy. Because what would happen here if, Jordan Love goes, you know what? I'm going to swing the hammer because I have it right now. I'm not showing up here. And I'll sit out the first 4 to 5 games. And the Packers are like, you know what? We think we're giving you an honest deal, but in this 5 or 6 games of the season, ruin it for us, and then we'll try to negotiate. Get this deal done. Because the one thing that we have learned in the NFL that is true, the longer you wait on players you feel are franchise guys, the more money it's going to cost you. Make the guy happy, pay him, and you know what that's going to be? I doubt it's like, hey, you know what? Jalen Hurts signed a couple months ago at this point at $50 million. I'm happy with that. No. Since the Packers waited, the price of the brick is going up. He should equal what Joe Burrow has gotten. And I don't want to hear the people out there, he's not as good as Joe Burrow, has showed as much as Joe Burrow in the NFL. That's not the point. It's when you're on the market and when your deal is ready to get done, the new money sets in here to reset that structure. Has no bearing on who's a better quarterback. Because having said that, you just say, well, why doesn't Patrick Mahomes make $150 million a year? Because he's so much better than everybody else. When his contract continues to come up, he will continue to reset that bar. It's Jordan Love's time. He will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when it's all said and done.
There are so many different wrinkles to this conversation, but let's start with the financial viewpoint that Donnie just laid out. You might not think Jordan Love is a top 5 quarterback. You might not believe he is worth more than $45 million, but you are incorrect. The reality of the situation with the ever-expanding cap in the National Football League and the inflation we have seen specifically at the quarterback position, Jordan Love is going to get his. There are 6 quarterbacks currently that make more than $50 million per year. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, in chronological order and in terms of the amount that they make from least to highest in that $50 million standpoint. All 6 of those contract extensions done in the last 2 off seasons. Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence signed their big deals this year. Goff, $53 million per year. T-Law matching Joe Burrow in annual average salary at $55 million per year, the highest in the history of the National Football League. The expectation is that is the floor for Jordan Love, probably surpassing it. Yes, there is differences in how the deal is structured or guaranteed rates, but that is the expectation. And this is not a holdout, as Donnie mentioned. He is not in Cabo right now waiting for his new deal. He is there. He is in meetings. I expect this to happen by the time the first week of training camp is out for Green Bay. That's the next coming few days. And Donnie, Jordan Love's contract position is a little bit more unique than just a first-round draft pick who is about to enter year number 5 in the NFL. He sat on the bench behind Aaron Rodgers in his first 3 years in Green Bay after being taken in the first round in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Packers did not, at that point, pick up his fifth-year team option, which the organization has to do before the player's fourth year in the National Football League. That was last season for Jordan Love. Strong start, a little bit shaky in the interim, but as we go back to the stats, Jordan Love was the impetus for the Packers making the postseason last year. Final 8 games of the regular season, Green Bay won 6 of them. In 6 of those 8 games, Love threw for more than 250 yards, and in that final 8-game stretch, 18 touchdowns to only a single interception, and then was sensational on the road in Dallas in the upset over the Cowboys during Super Wild Card weekend. More than 270 yards, 3 touchdowns to 0 INTs. It is why the optimistic future remains for the Packers in the vision of what they can have at the quarterback spot now with Jordan Love.
Yeah, and also you were hoping to get that bonus of, if you figured Jordan Love was a good quarterback right out of the gate, let's reset the timeline and say like maybe Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. We have that 2, 3, 4 years of him playing on the field, counting like $1 million or $2 million against that salary cap. You only got that one season. Now he's really going to ramp that up. And again, if you did it over again, you probably would say the Packers did it perfectly. We had Aaron Rodgers, a great quarterback, moved on. Now we have Jordan Love. So we didn't really need those 2 to 3 years. But most of the teams that bank on it, like the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, they're living it up right now. Hey, my quarterback counts $900,000 against the cap. We can splurge elsewhere, win a Super Bowl before we even have to pay this young kid. Those are the bonus years of the quarterback's contract. You don't have that now, but certainly nobody's going to look at Jordan Love this year coming into the season like, I just don't know if he can do it. It looks like he can do it, and he will be paid accordingly.
Yeah, it looks like he can do it. He should be the face of the franchise. I think even the staunchest Green Bay fan that might not want to shell out all that much money says Jordan Love is our guy and thus will be paid. More on that and around the NFL next. When Jordan Love gets paid, there will be a very hopeful feeling in Green Bay, Wisconsin once again. Last year, not expected to be a playoff team in the post-Aaron Rodgers era, and Jordan Love led them to that playoff spot. Now expected to be a postseason contender and maybe even challenge for the NFC North once again. 60 cents behind the Lions with a plus 195 price. Detroit, the favorites to win the NFC North at plus 135. But minus 172 for the Pack to see the postseason for a second consecutive year under Jordan Love as the starting quarterback. He's only made 18 NFL starts in his career. So I can understand some of the hesitation perhaps of thinking that Jordan Love deserves the most money we have ever seen in the history of the NFL. But Donnie, if you're looking at Green Bay from the outside, you're thinking to yourselves, how do they keep getting away with this? They are running on 3 decades of consistent and successful quarterback play, from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, now to Jordan Love. It seems as though that is the case for this Packers organization.
Yeah, and I guess that it's sort of like, okay, sometimes the pendulum has to swing back in our favor because they were a bad football team, late 70s, all the way through the 80s, just a complete punching bag at that point, then stumbled on a great trade for Brett Favre, and away you go with quarterback play that we haven't seen like this. You're not supposed to have a quarterback that plays for like 15 years, hand off to another quarterback that plays for 15 years, and then strike gold again in the draft with Jordan Love. That just shows a sign of a healthy organization that knows what they're looking for. Now, equating in championships over the past, 30 or so years with those quarterbacks, maybe you figured you should have more than what Favre got one, I believe, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers about a decade or so ago picked up another one. Maybe you want to have more, but they still did that. But you're always looking forward to the future when you know you have your quarterback spot sealed up for maybe another decade plus. So shout out to Green Bay Packers. Should have more championships under their belt at this point now, but you can't fault, man. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. Get the quarterback first and worry about the rest later.
Yeah, Brett Favre winning 1 during a 1996 season, made the Super Bowl the next year and came up short. Aaron Rodgers led the Packers to a Super Bowl back in the 2010 NFL campaign. Aaron Rodgers wearing an Egyptian-themed shirt. That guy loves the drama. Shows up to training camp today for the New York Jets. One of their other offseason acquisitions, Hassan Reddick is not there for New York. The Eagles traded Reddick, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, to New York, this offseason. Philly didn't want to pay Reddick. He wanted a new deal with the New York Jets. Seemed as though it would get done. It was a conditional third-round pick that could become a second-rounder, a rather high-priced acquisition being Hassan Reddick. He is in the final year of his contract, set to make $14.5 million, but hasn't even entered the Jets facility because it seems the two sides are very far off from striking a new deal.
And now the fines start up, and the acrimony is going to build up because one player's not happy to be there. And again, he didn't even get a chance to dap up his teammates in the offseason and say, hey, let me sit at the lunch table and get to know these guys. He's just going to spring in there a week before. And by the way, what happens if they don't come to an agreement? He's not sitting out the season. So he just shows up angry and freelances every game until he gets his money at this point. Also keep in mind, when he got traded, people are like, what? A conditional third-round pick? The Jets stole it. We have to understand, if Hassan Reddick put the word out, like, you know what? I don't even want to get paid any more money than I have. Let me just play this season out. He probably would have got a first-round pick back because that's what top edge rushers are going for. But you have to give up the third-round pick and then pay about $20 million a season. That's what you wind up with. And also keep in mind, Hassan Reddick told the Jets, look, trade for me. I bless this decision. I can't wait to be a Jet. I won't hold out, but I do want more money. Guy never showed up for 1 day of work here. So if you're Joe Douglas, you're like, look, I'm the bad guy here. You told me you'd show up and work with good faith. Now, there isn't much good faith going on between Hassan Reddick and the Jets.
Of course, the big developments during mandatory minicamp for the New York Jets back in the middle of June, the two absences. Hassan Reddick wanted a new contract, and Aaron Rodgers wanted to see the pyramids of Giza. Well, he is there today, at least, at training camp. Hassan Reddick is not. Good news for the Bengals. Joe Burrow has been fully cleared for contact, just hoping for a fully healthy offseason after only playing in 10 games last year due to the wrist injury and, of course, the calf injury that he picked up during the first week of practice at training camp last year for the Bengals. The bad news is this. We'll read the quote right now, and then we'll get Donnie's reaction as hour two starts on the other side. Bengals owner Mike Brown. It's not so likely that this is a good time to negotiate with MarrChase. Calendar's not a thing in Cincinnati. Donnie's going to have some heat for the Bengals when hour two starts in just a few minutes. Welcome to hour number 2 on the early line. There is so much to get to here all across the SportsGrid network. He is Donnie. I am Ben. One final look back on the final major championship this year in men's golf. That was the Open over the weekend at Royal Troon before we preview Paris Olympic golf starting next weekend. Keith Stewart will join us in just a few minutes to do that. Plenty of Major League Baseball conversations coming your way throughout this show. The Pitching Ninja on the program for the first time in a while later on in this second hour. But Donnie, we start with football. 28 of 32 NFL teams reporting to training camp by the end of today, with the final 4 to make it an even 32 at the end of tomorrow. The Bengals at training camp as of today, and Bengals president Mike Brown on a potential contract extension for wide receiver MarrChase. We teased this as we headed in to our second hour with your reaction. This is the quote in full. Quote, "It's not so likely that this is the good time to negotiate. The offseason is a better time for that, and we're going to try to keep focused on the football part. I'm not going to rule anything out, but I will tell you that the die has probably been cast." And quote from Mike Brown. Again, the Bengals send their veterans to camp today, officially ending the offseason for Cincinnati. Did Mike not know that at the end of the Super Bowl in the middle of February through today, that's considered the offseason? Donnie, right side, once again, the floor is yours.
Like, as I was expecting out of that quote here to be included in there, you'll like this, Ben. A pint of blood costs more than a gallon of gold. Like, why isn't that included somewhere in that tweet? It's from Mike Brown at this point here, because it was so ludicrous that you have to sort of scratch your head and say, what is he actually saying? Now, before I get there, too, hey, Joe Burrow, love you. You are a fantastic quarterback. You're going to do big things in the NFL. Heck, you might even be an MVP and or win a Super Bowl in your time with the Bengals. But I got to tell you this. You're a really bad teammate. And you might say, Don, that's not fair to say that. Like, he works hard and he gets injured, but yeah, he's worth that money. And he is. But how about this? You know who makes you your money, Joe Burrow? Sure, it's a great offensive line. Don't get me wrong there. But the wide receiving core, where I haven't heard you one time say, boy, T. Higgins got to get paid out here. Jamar Chase, you got to get paid out of here. Is he just fine being a company man and saying, I got my money and I'm just going to stay out of it at this point? It is your job as the leader of that football team to stick your neck on the line and say, hey, Mr. Brown, I understand you paid me here. You got to pay these guys. Like, this is my core for the next. You want to win Super Bowls? They got to be paid. And also, it's not as if they underperform. They are two sensational, young, talented wide receivers that core is able to maybe mature over the next couple years and do monster things. I can't believe I haven't heard anything from Joe Burrow. Take the press conference. As training camp starts today, my one goal is that both of my wide receivers get paid. That's all I care about, and I'm advocating for them. I haven't heard anything from that. But now let's get back to Mike Brown being the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals. The way you just handled the T. Higgins situation. Love T. Higgins. He's great. Not going to negotiate with you. You're going to play under this franchise tag, and you're going to like it, which means play for me this year. I'm not even going to offer you a contract when that is up. And then you come back and say, well, Jamar Chase is one of the most important things in this franchise. We have to get this guy taken care of, but that's more of an offseason thing when you just had an offseason. And you know Chase is eligible for an extension. So now you're going to have T. Higgins going, I hope I don't blow my knee out. And Jamar Chase going, I can't believe this guy isn't paying me now and expecting me to play on this salary when all my best friends in the same boat are absolutely buying boats themselves because of how much money that they actually have. You can't play an offseason worse. The talent is there to do big things in Cincinnati, but the management holding the carrot over these players going, ha, not this year, buddy. You'll eventually get it. This is ridiculous what the Bengals are doing.
It's bad business, and it could lead to bad football. If you are Jamar Chase right now, you're like, what is that quote, brother? Look at a calendar, please. What happened in March, in April, in May, in June, and most of July before we started? Just say you're not going to pay me, and we can have this conversation again come next March. Now, Jamar Chase, 3 years in the NFL, more than 1,000 receiving yards each and every year, Offensive Rookie of the Year back in 2021 at the wide receiver spot, more than 1,400 yards, 13 receiving touchdowns. Jamar Chase has been a Pro Bowler all 3 years. The good thing for Cincy, from the organization perspective, it's not like Jamar Chase becomes a free agent at the end of this year. The team picked up his fifth-year team option before this offseason got underway, before year number 4. He is under contract for 2 more years. But that's why it doesn't make fiscal sense. You know that Jamar Chase is going to rival, if not surpass, the number that Justin Jefferson set as the highest paid wide receiver in the history of the NFL, the highest paid non-quarterback, 4-year, $140 million, $35 million per year. You know that's going to happen. That's probably the bare minimum you can pay Jamar Chase. So do it now and average it out over the final 2 years of his rookie deal, and then it's not so bad. It's what Miami did with Jalen Waddle, who is the 5th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Is he a top 5 wide receiver like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Tyreek Hill or A.J. Brown? Probably not. Is he darn good? Yes. But you paid Waddle now to make it more friendly to the organization over the final 2 years on average of his rookie deal. You want to run a front office someday?
I do. You put me on, and again, like, we're looking at the Bengals overall, and when you talk about running the front office, like, it's the Brown family is running everything. There is, like, I honestly believe, like, deep down, Mike Brown sitting in his office going, like, man, you know what would be great if Jamar Chase was terrible this year, and we can save a lot of money trying to renegotiate with him next year, as opposed to saying, what happens if Jamar Chase goes out this year with a healthy Joe Burrow for 17 games and puts up 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns? I can't wait for that negotiation when he goes, you know what, you could have had me last year about $27.5 million a year. Now I want $37.5 million this year. Yeah. And also, from a negotiations tactic, if you're an agent of Jamar Chase, you just watched how T. Higgins was handled here by saying, you're going to play out your contract. then I'm going to tag you, then I'm going to wish you luck. Not securing that. So when Mike Brown says, I really can't wait to sign MarrChase, what does he actually mean? You're going to sign at my price and I got you still for 2 more years, then I can tag you on top of that? It's such a bad business because, again, if you're being smart with your money, you pay the guy now. If he has a good season, that contract is going to be $40 million more expensive next offseason than it is right now. So it's being a terrible businessman unless you're saying, I'm going to make money regardless of what my payroll is. If I keep it low and MarrChase isn't good this year, I can repay, which is the complete wrong. You hope MarrChase gets 2,000 yards. And you know why he gets the 2,000 yards? Because you already paid him, and you don't have to renegotiate for 4 or 5 years down the road. Just horrible. Business 101, an absolute fail for the Brown family and the Bengals.